Greetings, people of Earth. Welcome back. My name is Jax, and today we are talking about needing help and asking for it. I think so many of us, myself included, have struggled in silence. We have dealt with problems ourselves, we've internalized a lot of stuff. And it's really funny when you ask for help. You always think it's going to be like, oh, I'm such an imposition, it's going to be so annoying. They're going to think that I'm useless and worthless, and asking for help is just like, oh, it's a sign of weakness, blah, 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 blah. And then you ask for help and someone's like, yeah, of course, no problem. Like, that's so easy. Honestly, you should have just told me. No problem. And it's always amazing, especially to like a people pleaser yourself. Like, you're somebody who is trying to make people happy, make people have the best time. You're always hyper conscious of other people's feelings and how they sound, how they act, how they react. You just don't want to ask for help. But for most normal people out there in the world existing, responding to someone who asks for help is nothing. It's like, oh yeah, of course I'll help you. Like, what do you need? Like, how can I be of assistance? But we just have this mental block. We have this inability to ask for help for various reasons, like I just said. You grow up in an environment that asking for help is not good. And so then as an adult, you sort of kind of come to this illogical conclusion that asking for help is a real problem. And now more than ever, we are able to connect with people across the planet, across countries, generations, across everything. And asking for help has never been so easy. And yet so many of us don't want to do it and don't do it. And like, I'm right there with you. I find it difficult to ask for help on certain subjects more than others. So, if I need to tie a special tie on my suit and it's, not one I'm familiar with, I have no problem asking my dad, like, hey, how do you do this? Or even just YouTubing it. That's easy. That's not even an admission of asking for help, but it's super easy and I don't feel uncomfortable about it. When I'm at a store or something, I used to definitely just suffer in silence. Not really suffer, but walk around the store out for like such a long time trying to identify or find the thing I want, just because the idea of asking for help or asking for someone to just point me in the right direction, I was like, no, like that's an inconvenience. They're already working, like they don't need it. But like, to an employee there, I'm sure someone asking politely like, hey, where is this? That's not an imposition. That's not difficult. That's not hard. That's kind of part of the job. And so certain subjects in certain areas of our lives, we are more accepting of asking for help, and other ones we are absolutely not. I know, like, when I first sort of realized that I was like gay, bisexual, whatever, asking any kind of like question openly was like not a thing. Thankfully, I had like one cousin who had come out like a year or two before me, so I was able to ask her like, hey, like, how do I do this? Like, what is this? Like, is this normal? Should I be feeling like this? And like, she was so incredibly helpful with that kind of stuff. But sometimes you don't have the right person to ask for help, and so you kind of have to go further afield, do something different, seeking help through literature, books, internet, and you have to be careful where you ask for help, because certain people don't have your best interests at heart. So when you are asking for help, you're looking for information, you want to make sure that you're getting it from a credible source. And if you're at all worried about the credibility of the source, get help from multiple areas. Don't just rely on a single piece of help or a single piece of information. Branch out, look at other things, listen to what your friend tells you, and then go online and look through forums or Wikipedia or YouTube or whatever. Don't necessarily just take wisdom from one source, because when you take wisdom from one source, you're not really creating anything of yourself or anything of your own. You're just mimicking whatever source you get. But if you compound it with several different sources of information, you compound it into your own understanding, and that's wisdom. Like that experience and that ability to drink from multiple wells gives you inner wisdom, because then you can see it from one perspective, you see it from another, And then who knows, maybe one day someone will be asking you for the same help that you now have a good understanding of. You have a good experience with it. You've used the advice, you've used the knowledge yourself, tried and tested, and maybe you've tweaked it a little bit. Maybe you have enhanced it slightly. And that is like the cornerstone of true wisdom, is being able to ask for help first and then process everything and experience it yourself and go to the logical conclusion. But it still requires you to have the ability and the courage to just say, hey, I don't really understand this. Can you help me? I was really good at this in mathematics, like doing maths at school. It was always like, I need help with this. Like, can I stay after? Like, can I sit through lunch or something? And like, my teachers, thankfully, were always very helpful with that. And so I was able to do really well in math just because I was good at saying, hey, I don't get this at all. Can you help me, like, explain this to me? Like, I'm 6. And it took a long time because my brain just fights it, and I don't logically see something. I don't believe that there's like math people and not math people, but like my brain for whatever reason just didn't like looking at numbers, and it would like jumble them up and everything. But I was okay asking for help, and that's the important part, is that I realized, hey, I'm not good at this stuff. I need guidance, and I need to be told where I went wrong. And I think the final part of this whole idea of asking for help is not having ego. If you have a lot of ego and you're just like, I don't need help, that is the biggest barrier to actually solving a problem. We always, like, there's always that joke about like the man is driving and the wife says like, why don't we stop and ask for directions? He's like, I don't need directions. I'll just find it on my own magically. And he never does. Never happens. And it's that ego that prevents us from actually attaining, the help we need, the advice we need, the goal at the end of the tunnel. And so dropping your ego in that sense and just saying, hey, I don't get this, let's ask for directions. It's a sign of real growth and strength and wisdom just to say, oh, I don't know. And sometimes you don't realize that you're asking for help and people will bring it to you, and you have to be smart enough in that instance to accept it and say, oh, this person's trying to help me. This person is trying to give me advice. I better pay attention. I better focus. I better write this down. That's me. I've got to write it down. So there's a lot of aspects to asking for help, receiving it, listening to it, following through with it, making it your own, turning it into something that is useful in your own life, because we are all unique. What works for somebody might almost work for you, but needs a little tinkering, a little bit different. And that's okay too. That's totally fine. But you have to be willing to ask first, listen, and then go from there. And I think a lot of people are hesitant to do that. I think a lot of people think that it shows weakness, thinks that it shows insecurity, when in fact it shows the exact opposite. It doesn't show weakness. Asking for help shows strength. It shows that you don't know what you don't know, and that's powerful. It's probably more powerful than knowing what you want to know. So, Anyway, thank you so much for listening. I hope you're able to ask for help when you need it. I sure try to. And as always, I will talk to you tomorrow.